Hello, everyone. My name is Allison Ardris, and I'm the coordinator for fourth year programming and family programming as well. This is our monthly family chat that we do to help you all to feel more involved, to know about what's going on here at UNCW, and to know just a little bit more about how to help your student get involved is this month's topic. Today, I am joined here by two wonderful ladies from Campus Life that are going to share a little bit more about what they do and how your student can get involved in different levels. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have them introduce themselves to you. So today I have Madeline Filling and I have Andrea Ingling here. Would you ladies tell me a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. Hi, everybody. My name is Andrea Ingle. I'm the Associate Director for Student Involvement within the Student Involvement and Leadership Unit of Campus Life Department. I work with the Wavelink Student Engagement Platform on campus, oversee the Campus Activities and Involvement Center, kind of hub for student organizations, which I'll talk about more later, work with Student Government Association, and more, that I'll elaborate a little bit later.
Hi all, my name is Madeline Filling. I serve as the coordinator for campus activities and programs, specifically advising, ACE, and that is our Association for Campus Entertainment, which is our student programming board. I am also a member of the Student Involvement and Leadership Unit, and I am excited to share a little bit more about the kind of programs that we have to offer.
Thank you all for being here, and I really appreciate your time. It shows how much you really love and appreciate our students by the work that you do. So thank you so much. I really value that. So just to let you know, please comment. Even though this is posted on Facebook, feel free to comment below and we'll get to your questions, or you can email transitions@uncw.edu if you have any follow-up questions after you watch this video. So what I want to do is transition to some organized questions that we have here. So first off, let's talk a little bit about what Campus Life has and entails, because there's a lot, right? There's a lot of different departments, and we want you to know the best way to help your student or encourage them in different ways. And the more you know, the more you can support that student. So the first question I have is, can you tell me a little bit more about campus activities and involvement?
Absolutely. So I try to give the context right out of the gate that the Campus Activities and Involvement Center, or CAKE office, because we love a good acronym in our unit and kind of at the university, that is our physical office space, right? So that's upstairs in the Fisher Student Center, kind of above Einstein's. And that physical office we think of as kind of the hub for student involvement. So that's a great place to go and get started if your student is kind of unsure of where to go. 3 offices are housed within that hold different areas. So student community engagement. So if your student is really passionate about volunteering, being involved in the community, that's a great spot to be a part of. Student involvement and leadership, which is kind of our direct unit that works with student organizations. We do leadership retreats. I could talk for a full day about all the things that any one of these units do. So I'll put a pin in it there. And then fraternity and sorority like offices are also within that space. The ACE office and the student government office are also in there as well. So while we have a lot of professional staff members that physically exist in that area, we also have a team of involvement specialists that can help your student or really any student that comes in if they're unsure of like where to go or what to do, how to use Wavelink, how to just get involved on a baseline level, are curious about student organizations, any of that. Some of my staff, the involvement specialists, can help them navigate that when they come into the office. So that's a very, very brief synopsis of everything that office houses.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So for our next question, what are some great ways for our students to get involved this semester?
Yeah, that's a big overarching question. I think what I would distill it down to and point them to would be Wavelink. I know I kind of like name dropped that platform a couple times already, but that is our student organization and departmental organization platform. So that houses the individual Wavelink pages of about 75 to 80 campus departments right now, and then 250 student organization pages. So basically students can go onto that platform. They can sift through different organizations that they may want to find out more about or be a part of, reach out to the students listed on that roster. If they, again, want to get involved in that org, they can sift through different events that are happening on campus, and they can sort them by different categories. And there are a lot of cool options, but they can also sort those by free food and free stuff, which is like a big favorite. We loved bringing that on board. So they can really kind of weave their own involvement tapestry, if you will. That's a really dramatic example, but to figure out like what's going to be a good fit for themselves and their learning experience and what they want while they're here at UNCW. So all students, faculty, and staff have access to that by just logging in with their UNCW credentials, their UNCW email, and not 850 password. So sorry about that. And at any point can see the details and contact information by searching those things. So I talk more specifically about some of those options here in a minute too, I think.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So our follow-up question, I know we talked a lot about Wavelink and the different things of free food. I mean, that's students love that. That's like the number one thing besides free food and free stuff. They'll come to that. So if you ever need to help your students get involved, just tell them, look for the events with free food, and then you don't have to do dinner as well. So for my next question, we have, where can students find out about events going on campus? Or if you want to share other things about your department, you can do that as well.
Cool, awesome. Can I talk about the benefits?
Yes, please do.
Okay, super. So I know I kind of scratched the surface a little bit about kind of how they can make that initial way in to get engaged. But why do we ask them to be involved? This is something that we talk a lot about at orientation. But the reason that we're passionate about getting students involved is because we really want them to elevate their UNCW experience beyond what they're learning in the classroom. So they're going to learn a ton in their classes that will help them be successful later. But what is a complement to that? What else can they add to that experience? And there are so many different options. Like you would take so many different theses to talk about it. Theses, is that okay? Whatever, that's fine. So when they get involved, these are the points we kind of try and hammer in because I think that these are really important tangible things to them. But they can learn new skills that are applicable to any academic and career field, right? So if they want to be a doctor, if they're trying to go into the fine arts, be an English teacher, a marine biologist, that's awesome. But no matter what they're going into, they are going to need to know how to work as a team. They're going to need to know time management, which sometimes they think that they have a grasp on, but that's not really true. They'll need to know how to lead and motivate themselves and to motivate others. Among, again, so many other things. I could list it forever. So involvement can provide them with all of those skills to different degrees. So beyond the skills, though, we want them to feel like they are connected and supported within the community. That's really, really important to us and also to them once they kind of realize we want them to build that social network with peers and colleagues and truly feel like they are at home here. And finally, I think, especially as a student who kind of struggled to get involved when I was in undergrad, it's important to articulate that involvement can be so many things. The list goes on and on and on. Again, going back to that tapestry terminology, but they can weave it however they want or how they need that experience to be. So some examples that we use a lot during orientation are registered student organizations, which I know I sort of touched on, but we have about 250 of those right now. Fraternities and sorority involvement, we have 34, I believe, on campus active right now. Competitive sports, varsity athletics, sports club council, student employment on campus is something we are also really passionate about and talk at length about. They may be more interested in peer-to-peer education, undergraduate research, which still remains inside their academic focus. They may be a part of the Honors College, want to engage in community service leadership programs. Again, I could talk forever about it, but that just scratches the surface of why it's important and all the different options that they have.
Oh, thank you.
Sorry, that was
So-
a lot.
No. The more information our families know, the better off they are, because they always hear their students say, I don't know, there's nothing going on campus.
Hmm.
So now you can look at your student and say, no, I know there's something going on campus. We just heard, I just heard this on the family chat, that there is something always going on. So look at Wavelength, right?
Yes.
Look at all the
Yes.
plethora of options that are out there, because at UNCW, we really passionately care about your student getting involved and feeling connected, and you guys are the main support system, but we always consider ourselves as another support system for your student, and involvement is just another way that we can help build those connections and help your student feel at home away from home. So now that we've talked a lot about the kind of campus life and the engagement and activities, I'm going to transition to more specifically about the Student Programming Board, ACE. So this is where Madeline, this is her expertise, and she's going to answer some of those questions for us. So one of the questions is, what is ACE?
Great question. I'll start us off. And so, as I shared in my introduction, ACE is an acronym. We touched on, we love acronyms around here. ACE is an acronym that stands for the Association for Campus Entertainment, and they are a student organization that is responsible for developing and executing a wide variety of unique programs on campus for the campus community.
Awesome, thank you. All right, next question. It'll be a little bit harder.
Yeah.
What types of events does ACE host, and is there any upcoming events that are coming?
Yeah, that is a really, really good question.
says too many.
Yeah, we do have a plethora of events coming up. But ACE hosts all sorts of different campus programs, like I shared. And I like to share that they are more novelty-based programs. And they generally fall into 6 different categories. And so the buzzwords or categories that your student might hear on campus are activities. And so those are events like trivia events or festivals that happen on campus, arts-based events, so a lot of tactile arts and crafts events, concerts, so our Concert on the Common series, which features local Wilmington bands, our Battle of the Bands, student group competition that happens as part of homecoming, our film series, so all of our movies that are screened in Lumina Theater. We have spirit-based events, which are our Teal Tuesday events and ways for students to just come together and rally around some UNCW traditions. And then, of course, UNCW homecoming. And so the ACE Executive Board and the general body work really, really hard to come up with events for your students. And we right now average about 1 to 2 events per week. And so to Allison's point earlier about, oh, your students saying, you know, there's nothing to do on campus. I can personally guarantee you that ACE has something for your students to do on campus. Right now, like I said, we're averaging about 1 to 2 events per week from each of these 6 different areas. And so we have a lot of upcoming events. Some of the ones that are in the immediate future, we have a screening of Pitch Perfect on Friday the 13th in Lumina Theater. We have our trivia event on the 23rd. We have our first Teal Tuesday of the semester on the 24th, among so many other events that we have upcoming. And so I would just highly encourage your students to log into Wavelength. You're going to hear it a lot. So you all can see, or so their students can see the full scope of all of the events that ACE has to offer this semester.
Now, Madeline, are those events free or are they charge something?
Great question. So yes, almost all of our events that ACE hosts are free to the campus community. I will say, with the exception of maybe 1 or 2 of our like really large scale programs every year. For instance, Big Show, that is our large concert that we do in the spring semester. That is one that might be a charge for the students, but I will say Campus Life does a really, really good job to break down that cost barrier for students to get involved. And so even if the 1 to 2 large scale events that we do a year do cost money, that would be a really, really reduced rate for your students to come out.
Wow, so that even prevents another barrier of them being like, I can't afford this, or I'm on a college budget. So they have the opportunities to do a lot of free things and a lot of different options. So just making sure your student knows, again, we're gonna say hundreds of times, Wavelength.
Yes.
Make sure they log into Wavelength and find the event that works for them. We really just want to make sure you know, pass the word along. But to end this section, I'm gonna one more question for right now. Can students volunteer to help with any of these programs or different areas?
Yeah, we would absolutely love to have your students come be a part of ACE. So the way that it is structured is we have our ACE executive board, those 6 different areas that I mentioned earlier, as well as a general body. And so the best way for your student to become involved with ACE is to become a member of our general body. And that is the best way that we can plug them in with volunteering at these events. And so we care really, really deeply about your students' safety and their well-being. And so that is why we ask that they join the general body of ACE, so that way they can complete some of those safety trainings that are affiliated with putting on some of these really, really large scale events. And so we just ask that you all encourage your students to join ACE's general body, so that way they can volunteer at events and get their voices heard from the ACE executive board in terms of planning events for the next semester.
Great. Thank you so much for that. All right, now that we've covered what ACE is and a little bit more in depth about it, you mentioned wavelength 10 times. I'm gonna go ahead and leave it open to either of them, either lady, to what can families do to help encourage their student to get connected?
Great. So I know, as you said, now we've plugged Wavelength a million times, but it is really big on our campus, and it informs all of our marketing from our unit. So anything that goes in there, anything from small unique programs to really large scale university-wide programs, that goes in there, and we use that to pull on our social media and stuff like that. So that's why we keep focusing on it. But I also wanted to plug Corq, CORQ. It's a different name than Wavelength, but it is the same thing. It's just the app version. So if your student has downloaded that already, or if they haven't, encouraged them to do so, it pulls everything off that platform into a more manageable content frame just for your phone. So I always try and frame it out as like, if your student is walking down Chancellor's Walk one day from class to class saying like, I don't know really what to do after class, or I want to go to something this weekend or something, it's easy for them to just scroll through. They can still manage all the categories and the themes and free food and free stuff on that platform, and figure out what they want to do during any given time. So that's what I would reiterate.
Thank you, I appreciate that. And I know we mentioned some of the benefits before, but why should families encourage their students to get involved? What's the benefit, some of the benefits you've seen or heard?
Yeah, Andrea really did a great job covering some of the benefits for students to get involved, but I think the main 3 takeaways that I would share with you all to share with your students are that your students gain an endless amount of skills and develop their leadership within various areas of involvement that they may or may not be able to get inside the classroom. They are able to build a peer network and really create a sense of belonging for themselves at UNCW and really make UNCW feel like their home. And then every major can benefit from involvement, because there's not one true definition or cookie cutter example of what involvement on UNCW's campus looks like. So every single major can benefit from being involved and take away those skills.
Thank you. One more question before we wrap up. Is there anything else that you think families should know from the last bits?
I think the main thing I thought about is we always try and say any type of family oriented session during orientation or anything, but if your student is struggling to get involved and they come to you with that, or they're having trouble navigating Wavelength or have questions about the different options that they have involvement wise, have them contact activities@uncw.edu. That goes to my involvement specialist staff. It goes to my grad assistant director, and myself. We can all see that. So we can, try and figure out what the best method. We also have the involvement compass as well. So if they're really truly like not connecting, they've maybe tried out a couple of things and it's just not clicking for them. We do have a form in Wavelength called the Involvement Compass that they can fill out with some of their interests, maybe some of the things they've been involved with in the past, et cetera, et cetera. And then once they submit that, that'll come to the involvement specialist staff, and they can make a personalized report that they'll send them. Again, if they're just really having a hard time, that is a great option and a great method. So again, activities@uncw.edu if they have any questions.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your time. Again, we mentioned Wavelength many times, but there's always something on campus for your student to get involved. And most of all, we want you to take away is that if you need help, our staff really is passionate and we really honestly care about your students. So please have your student reach out to us if they have any issues or having any trouble activities at uncw.edu. And also thank you so much for joining us for the family chat this month. I really appreciate it. And I hope you got some really great information, not only for you, but to share with your student to make sure that they have an even more successful semester this time. And feel free again to comment below or email transitions@uncw.edu. Thanks again. Have a great day.